Happy Saturday and welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants as promised. Some more of this Negro news, brought to you by www.negronews.com. I'm Joseph Ward, the founder of On the Shoulders of Giants, and I got a couple things that we're going to get into today. Two stories. Hope you're having a good Saturday, because I'm having a good Saturday. So the first story is the good, because remember, this Negro news, we're giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the first story is the good, and the second story is the ugly. So let's get into this first story, because this town in Ohio said, we ain't having it. Let's get into it.
Turn now to one community in Ohio, which is now the center of a growing national debate about civil rights, hate speech, and the Second Amendment. NBC News correspondent and NBC News Now daily anchor Morgan Radford visited the town of Lincoln Heights, where residents have formed an armed community defense group in the wake of a neo-Nazi rally. Morgan joins us now. You were there just on Tuesday. What did the residents tell you about what's going on?
Yeah, I was there just this week. John, it was fascinating because what's interesting is that this town was founded during the Great Migration back in the 1920s as a refuge for black citizens, which is why it was especially painful when neo-Nazis suddenly appeared in this 3,000-person majority black town. But they decided to fight back, taking up arms and patrolling their own streets. Now they're at the center of a much larger debate about protection and free speech and who gets it.
These aren't police officers or soldiers.
They're business owners, their fathers, their sons, daughters.
These are civilians, members of the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program.
It's a duty. Okay, let's go.
The duty, protecting their neighborhood, the majority black village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio.
Ain't nobody scared of you.
I ain't mad at them. That's what I'm talking about. I ain't mad at them. Look, I'm tired of people complaining. Somebody finally doing something about something, standing up, being real, like not just laying down and letting stuff happen and no complaining. I love it. And before I tell you more about it, make sure you like this video, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm working on getting to 100,000 subscribers, and I need your help. And I believe I'm being shadow banned right now, so I really need your help to make sure that you got that notification bell turned on and that you share this video with as many people as possible, because nothing or nobody gonna hold this channel back for going the way it needs to go, and nothing or nobody gonna hold the platform back for being what it needs to be. All right, so it's down in Ohio. Neo-Nazis showed up and held a rally, and then I believe the Klan showed back up and held a rally. So these black folk like, well, all right, so y'all coming out here and y'all gonna hold rallies and pass out flyers and do all this stuff in our neighborhood, and I believe this is a predominantly black area, right? So they like, all right, well, we're going to protect ourselves. How about that? We're gonna protect ourselves. I don't have no problem with it. Let's protect ourselves. Let's arm ourselves and protect ourselves. Now, we ain't trying to be no gangsters, but y'all ain't finna run up on us like that and think everything is cool. That's what they saying. So let's get back into it.
After neo-Nazis held a rally here last month, carrying rifles, waving swastikas, and hurling racial slurs, just moments before children were let out of school. At the time, law enforcement officials said the neo-Nazis did not break any laws, but
and you heard what she said. This happened just moments before children were let out of school. So, they had motives behind this. Them folk had motives behind this, right? Right before the children are let out of school. All right.
An investigation by county prosecutors is ongoing. Weeks later, the KKK came with these flyers.
First African-American community above the Mason-Dixon line of staff.
Safety and Watch Group spokesperson Durrance Daniels says the police did not do enough, which was more chilling because the town was founded in the 1920s as a safe haven for black residents.
Lincoln Heights is our home. If somebody broke into your home, you call the police, and the police says, you know, if they do it again, we haven't broken any laws, so we're just going to allow them to break into your home again. What would you do?
Are you worried at all that having a potentially armed response could just create more friction, create more danger?
I'll answer that by saying I've never felt safer as a black man.
Why wouldn't they arm themselves to protect themselves? Why would they do the turn the other cheek stuff that already don't work? Why would they continue doing things that don't work? Now, hold on. He said something. I want to bring it back a bit because he was saying something, and I want to make sure I get to it.
As a safe haven for black residents.
Lincoln Heights is our home. If somebody broke into your home, you call the police.
Oh yeah. So he was talking about them coming in there and being able to do the rally. Now, unfortunately, if they do everything that they're supposed to do on their end, they can protest peacefully. They can do their protest, unfortunately. And I understand how the brother feels, but legally, they can do the protest. Now, they don't have to want to ever come back to do their protest. But of course, we know how they work. So let's run it.
You know, if they do it again, we haven't broken any laws, so we're just going to allow them to break into your home again. What would you do?
Are you worried at all that having a potentially armed response could just create more friction, create more danger?
No.
I'll answer that by saying no. I've never felt safer as a black man in my community than I have right now.
The mayor of Evendale, which oversees the police force that responded that day, said in a statement to NBC News, "Our emphasis on de-escalation and public safety resulted in the incident's resolution without injuries to any of the persons involved."
Come on.
But residents here say they can't afford to wait.
So basically, you can't afford to expect the police to be on your side in their instance. They don't believe. Well, because that response right there is basically saying, you know, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. Nothing happened. Nobody was hurt, you know, so we ain't gonna do nothing about it. So the residents like, all right, well, we're gonna do something about it. And yeah, we don't have to bring the fight to you, but we can be ready for anything. And I don't have a problem with it. We should be able and willing to protect ourselves. If not, what are we doing? Why would we just lay down? Why would they just lay down and just take the old school, oh, well, we just gonna let stuff happen. We gonna give it to God approach. Hey man, God gave us common sense too. All right.
Every day, the Safety and Watch group escorts children to school and patrols the streets.
Why do you all wear masks?
Those Nazis, we have reports of them finding our backgrounds, so we're not hiding ourselves from the residents, but we're protecting our family from what we're doing out here.
While many locals do support the security group, some, like business owner Eric Ruffin, say they wish the group wasn't needed.
Here comes the scared man. Here comes somebody who's scared. Here it comes. Watch this. And why he got to be bald head like me? That's messed up. You ain't representing right, bro.
We don't want to become what we hate.
We don't want to become what we hate. That's not becoming what you hate. Basically, you were saying, hey, he with the old school stuff. He the turn the other cheek type of brother. Hey, if they become that, you should just love them. And if you love them, they will stop. It's never stopped, Eric Ruffin. You're definitely not related to David.
We don't want to become a group of people that walk around feeling like we have a reason in America to have to protect ourselves.
If you are in America in 2025 and you don't think that you need to protect yourself, you are unrealistic about what's going on around. And he's so passionate. We don't want to become what we hate. And we shouldn't have to walk around feeling like we should have to protect ourselves. What America do you live in, Ruffin? What America do you live in, my brother? You can't be serious. You can't be talking about this America that we live in. If you live in America right now and you don't believe that you need to protect yourself, You're not being realistic about what's going on around you. You're not being realistic about racism. They just told you 2 white supremacist groups showed up, and you want to love them from afar. You want to turn your other cheek. Okay.
And this community
Stand up.
Stand up.
is not backing
Stand
down.
up.
We contacted the mayor of Evendale's office,
right.
and they say that prosecutors are looking at body camera footage of the neo-Nazi rally to see if any criminal charges could be filed. But meantime, the Hamilton County Sheriff is also calling on state lawmakers to pass legislation making it a crime to wear a mask with the purpose of intimidation while open carrying, guys.
So, Morgan, let me ask you, one of the people you interviewed there, a young man, said he's never felt safer in his community than he does now.
Right.
So this could have an impact nationwide, things like this. I mean, there is a contagion factor in safety.
Sound like he's scared. Sound like he got a problem with it. We're going to see. But he sound like he's scared. He sound like he got a problem with it.
People always seek it. What did the mayor or anybody that you spoke to think about the contagion factor?
Durance, I don't want to speak for him, but after my conversation with him, I feel like I could confidently say he would say the contagion factor has already happened.
Right. You had 2 well-known white supremacist militias show up in their community. Why there? Why the predominantly black community? Why did they show up? The contagion has already happened. That's why they are showing up in the community.
When I asked, is this a reaction to a local moment or a national movement? And he said, look at January 6th. He said, you already have people felt emboldened to come here locally because of what they saw nationally.
Black folk, if you are not willing, ready, and able to protect yourself, you are delusional about what's going on. And then when you get your Negro wake-up call, you're looking crazy because you thought they were your friends. You thought they loved you. Wake up. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your race is. If you're an American, you don't feel like you need to protect yourself. Hey, man, you crazy. And especially if you're a black person in America, you don't feel like you need to protect yourself. I don't know what you smoking on. Especially if you're in a community like this where 2 well-known white supremacist groups show up in the community. Hey, man, they doing what they supposed to do. We salute that community in Ohio. We salute you all. Yes, continue to do it. And they need to be supported. They need to be supported. Great example to set. Great example to set. That's how we start off the good part of the Negro news, right? Great example to set. Why would we lie down and allow known racists to come into our communities and just feel like it's all good up in here? Nah, they don't need to be comfortable. Now, of course, legally, you can't keep people out of your community like that. You can't tell them they can't come in there like that or be in the city or whatever. But they don't have to want to be there. And you have the right to protect yourself against any threat that comes into your community. Because why were they rallying? What were they rallying for? And then they come in there passing out flyers. Come on, man. Come on now. Let's not be foolish. Don't be crazy. And don't look at me like I'm crazy. Look at them like they crazy. Because they think that protecting themselves is a good idea, going back to Mr. Ruffin. Too late, Mr. Ruffin. It's too late for you to feel like we don't need to protect them. We need to protect ourselves, whether you like it or not. The neo-Nazis and the KKK showed up in your community, whether you like it or not. They showed up, Ruffin, they showed up in your community, whether you like it or not. So the next step is never to lie down or never to try to love them from afar. It doesn't work. We have over 6,000 years of information, because we've been reading Destruction of Black Civilization on this channel, right? Over 6,000 years of information to show that trying to love your enemy don't work. From the first dynasty in Egypt up to modern times, Black people have failed to realize that your oppressor will never have your best interest. Never have your best interest at hand. Never. So they're not just showing up to be your friends. They never have just showed up to be your friends. Wake up. Wake up. All right, that's the good. That's the good. All right, I got to get my mind right. Let me stretch a little bit. Stretch a little bit for this next, because this next one gonna piss all us off. Oh, we finna get pissed off for this next one. I'm telling you, we finna get pissed off because these folk out here tripping. All right, so let me prepare you. You will be triggered. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. You will be triggered by this next video because it's some straight tomfoolery, and our Black children are not safe from these predators. Let's run it.
Country. Yet somehow we're still stunned by cases like the one we're bringing you tonight. We begin with a case out of West Virginia. Gene Whitefeather and Donald Lance, a white couple, are accused of treating their 5 adopted children like slaves.
You heard them. These two are accused of treating their children, their Black children that they adopted. They're treating their Black adopted children like slaves. Now, I'm gonna play I'm playing this whole video. The commentary in the whole video give you whole context of why they need a foot knee deep in their asses. Like knee deep, like I'm talking about she need her ass whooped, her mama need her ass whooped, her grandma need her ass whooped, her great grandma need her ass whooped, her great grandma need her ass whooped. Same thing for his. He need. You see this part of his. Slap him from here to here. Like I'm talking about, put a foot from here to here. Both of these need foot in ass. I'm talking about foot in ass for both of these people. I'm telling you, this pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie.
We know for sure 3 are Black, according to the indictment. Prosecutors say the children were also targeted and adopted because of their race. The pair was arrested last fall. This was after
targeted and adopted because of their race.
Wellness check turned into a reveal about the living conditions of the children. 2 of the children, 14 and 16 years old, were found living in a barn outside. Neighbors tipped law enforcement off. Deputies discovered there were limited resources in that barn.
They got the Black children living in barns, literally living like chattel. Literally living like chattel. They got the Black kids literally living like chattel up in here. And it get worse. It gets worse. Once you work till you find out how they got these kids.
The teens only had a small porta potty, no running water or a mattress. According to neighbors, the children were not allowed inside of the home, the main house, and had to do farm labor outside instead. Whitefeather denies the allegations and says the barn was simply a teenage clubhouse.
So you got kids living in a quote unquote clubhouse. Because they're living the total condition of the children is just, I can't even get the word. It's effed up. It's effed up. Deplorable. Effed up. The children living conditions. Wait till they explain what they're doing. But so this couple is saying that this barn that the children were actually living in is a clubhouse. But listen, because keep listening as they explain this stuff, because they literally, we don't even know how they acquired these kids, if they acquired these kids even legally, but they targeted these Black kids, acquired these Black kids, and made these Black kids work. And their living conditions were inhumane. They were literally living in like slave, like literal literal slave-like conditions. Literal slave conditions. He need his ass whooped.
Both Whitefeather and Lance are now behind bars as they wait for a trial to begin September 9th. Joining us to talk about it.
I hope he in jail getting his ass whooped.
Here on The Factor Uncensored, we have with us parent David Settles, Todd Smith, the CEO of Regal Media, and trauma therapist Chow Nguyen. Glad to have you all on The Factor Uncensored. So, David, first of all, as a parent, hearing this story, and we have learned that the judge admonished him in court.
Look at David Socks.
In another hearing saying, I have never in my life seen anything like this. Your bond was $200,000, come back. It is now $500,000 each.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the judge did the right thing by increasing the bond, but as a parent, absolutely.
It shouldn't be no bond. You can't get out. Judge Joseph said you can't get out. You never getting out. Get comfortable.
It's downright deplorable, right? It's not even just disgusting, but it's purely evil at this point, right? And but to go back to the point about them raising the bond, you know, people have been talking about the foster care system and adoption regulations and things like that. Chances are there wasn't an adoption agency or any foster care system involved in this case because they raised the bond with allegations of like human trafficking.
Allegations of human trafficking because nobody's sure how they got these kids and if they got these kids in a legal manner. Allegations of human trafficking with the black kids that they quote unquote adopted. And y'all say we in a post-racial America. The second story today to show that we not in this post-racial America that y'all keep trying to convince us that we.
So we don't even know how these kids ended up in their care in the first place.
We do know they were adopted or they received their custody in Washington State and then moved to West Virginia. Were people wise? Were people getting concerned about what they saw in Washington and that's why they moved to West Virginia? That's a question we still have to explore.
Two things come to mind. The child welfare system, which is an institution that really needs some serious reform. There was talk about defunding the CPS and foster care system. It's not there to protect the children in cases like this. That's a whole other issue. The institutions that are meant to support children can sometimes hurt them. And the other thing I think about is the trauma that's instilled on these kids for a lifetime. We talk about something called adverse childhood experiences, neglect, abuse, poverty, unhealthy sanitary conditions, poor parenting. Those are things that can affect those children for a lifetime, that can create PTSD, anxiety, depression, poor relationships, poor jobs, crime. Those are very serious outcomes for those children.
And Todd, we've heard that the 16-year-old boy in this case reeked and had sores on his feet. It was so bad.
Remember, listen to what he just said. Listen to what he just said. About the 16-year-old boy, listen to what he just, I'm gonna let him say it again.
Crime, those are very serious outcomes for those children.
And Todd, we've heard that the 16-year-old boy in this case reeked and had sores on his feet.
And he was in the barn. He was in the clubhouse. He lived in the clubhouse, remember. He was in the barn. The 16-year-old was in the barn, AKA the clubhouse, the fun house, according to the slave masters.
It was so bad the neighbors could smell it.
The boy smelled so bad, and the barn smelled so bad, the clubhouse smelled so bad that the neighbors could smell it. But it's a fun house, it's a clubhouse. Who needs their ass whooped? I know two people that need their ass whooped. I do. I know two people that need to be thrown under the jail. And whatever happens to them when they get in the, hey, you know. But I know two people who need their ass whooped. I tell you that.
It just, if you look at the images, it looked like an old school plantation. The shed, the barn looked like a slave shack. It's just, like David said, it's just evil. And to think in 2024 you still have people who see black people and children at that as property. You know, that just to use for their own purposes and stuff like that. The only way to describe it is evil. This is for the first time in my being on this show, I'm just flabbergasted. I have really nothing to say about how this is, but this is why
I know what to say. They need their ass whooped. How are they able to get these kids and do this to these children? To the point to where the children smell so bad and their conditions smell so bad, it's stinking up the community. Inhumane conditions. Are they going to the bathroom on themselves? Who does this to children? I tell you who do this to children. Evil subhuman beings. Evil subhuman people. Bitch ass people. People who don't see us as human beings because they sought these children out. They looked for these kids. They went to go look for the little black kids to put to work for them. In this modern time, they looked for their slaves. They used the child welfare system to go find their slaves. Yeah.
we should take racism seriously. This is why when people talk about certain things, we should listen to them, because it's so easy to fall back into the trap of yesteryear when things happen that were this atrocious. You know what I mean? It's people would do evil things to people, to innocent people. So we have to really be careful about, you know, the race relations in this country and stuff like that, and so we won't fall back into that trap again.
And of course, we heard from the judge and prosecutors that these kids were targeted because of their race. This is why those parents went after them.
So that's why we need to take a serious look at the child welfare system. We don't know what happened to these kids, but did you know that only 15% of all cases in which children are taken away from their parents involve physical violence? A lot of them involve neglect. We're talking about maybe there's not enough food at the table, maybe they weren't clothed properly, maybe mom or dad had an addiction problem, things that stem from trauma. If we can address keeping families together and address things like poverty and prosperity and economic prosperity, maybe we can keep families together so we don't see these situations. Something has to seriously be done about that institution.
And we're hearing that they also sold a $700,000 ranch and a $200,000 house, I think, as well. And many prosecutors are questioning how they were able to get that money, whether those kids played a role in forced labor to pay for.
We know they did. It ain't no secret. We know the kids were the source of labor that allowed them to get that money. Man, we look. I don't even care if I'm wrong. That's my conclusion. They use the kids. Why else do they have them living out in the barns, working the way they work, smelling the way they smell, with the sores on them, in the living conditions that they're in? They work their personal mules. They turn black children into mules. They need their ass whooped. Our children are not safe. So in the last story, Buddy talking about, it's amazing we live in a world where we don't feel safe. Well, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Our children, black children, are not safe. Just like in the video me, PC, and Pat put out yesterday, talking about the black man political agenda, right? Black men, we are needed. Black masculinity is needed because our children, as well as our women and ourselves, none of us are safe. But we got to save ourselves so we can save our community. And if we want to save our future, we got to save our kids.
Those things.
I mean, we don't know, but it would seem so. Like they had no source of income that the judge knew about. So how are you making this type of money?
You know how they making the money. If you ain't got no real source of income and you got all these kids in these conditions and all this stuff here, the kids were the source of the labor.
Enslaving people. Yeah. You know, they're trafficking kids. You know, they think it's 1824, not 2024. And like Chow said, we have to start at the root and fix some of the problems that people are having that lead to this situation, because there's no child that should be. These kids are going to be traumatized for life. And the excuses that they use, oh, it was a clubhouse.
The root is white supremacy.
I was a teenager. I didn't want nothing to do with a clubhouse. I wanted to hang out with my friends and do normal things. That's elementary stuff. And the fact that the cops had to pry the door open. If that's a clubhouse, why can't they come and go?
Right. I'm just saying. The brother got a point. When the brother got a point, the brother got a point. The clubhouse, which is the spot to be, the police had to pry the door open to get in to save the children. Had to break the door down to get in to save the kids. But the clubhouse is the spot to be. Fuck out of here.
I have friends that have clubhouses for their children. They can come and go as they please. So all of that is nonsense. They are enslaving people. And I've mentioned this before on this show. People think slavery ended in 1865 through convict leasing and other things. Black people have always had to deal with the possibility of being enslaved again. And now in 2024, we have kids having to go through things that my ancestors went through, and it's horrifying.
Last 30 seconds.
14% of this country is the black population, yet 25% of all kids in the child welfare system are black. There's a serious racism problem in the foster care and the child welfare system.
All right, we want to thank you.
Hey man, look here. It's right in your face. It's right in your face, right? Our children are not safe. What are we going to do to make sure we are better black people to keep our children safe? If for nothing else, if we don't do it for nothing else, we do it to keep our children safe, to ensure that we actually do have a future in this country or anywhere else. What are we going to do? Black children were literally, I don't know how they got them kids, but they got them kids. Two clear racist, white supremacists acquired black children and enslaved those black children, put them to work and had them living in inhumane conditions, to the point to where the barn, aka the clubhouse, aka the spot, was so bad, the conditions were so bad that it smelled throughout the community, throughout the neighborhood. And when they found the children were messed up, malnourished, sores on them, reeking. The man said the 16-year-old reeked. I mean, he probably, when's the last time he was clean? The trauma that these children have suffered. Just think about it. The trauma that these kids have suffered is immense. The type of therapy that they're going to have to go through to get over this, right? What do we do, black community? What are we going to do? Now, shout out to the folk in the first story. Those are responses that we need. We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves. And if we're not protecting ourselves, we're going to be vulnerable to any and everything that happens to us. We have the evidence to prove it, that we will continue to be victimized by all other groups who see us as weak until we get our stuff together. Hey man, all I'm doing is reporting the news and showing you what's happening out here in the world, to us and around us. All I'm literally doing is reporting the news, giving you my reaction to the news. Negro News Network, man. That's what we do. Good, the bad, the ugly, what's happening in the black community. And today we gave you the good and the ugly. We ain't had no bad thing, but at least we had some good. Shout out to that community in Ohio. Salute y'all one more time. For doing what y'all do, standing up, not laying down, not being soft, not being scared. And the couple in the second video, the slave masters, they need their ass kicked. That's it. Negro News Network. Catch y'all next time. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.